Hey everybody, thanks for listening. Welcome to The Long Shot. It is a podcast. I am your host. My name is Sean Conroy. With me today on the podcast is no one. Amber is somewhere. I think she told me where she was going, but she's on her way to Nebraska, or she's already there, maybe. But she's going to visit Jeff's family. So she was going to be traveling, or, it just wasn't going to work out. So she's not here. I am here, which means this will not be a particularly long episode. Sorry, no can do. It is Sunday night, or rather, I should say it is Monday morning. It's about 2:30 a.m. right now as I'm recording this. So that's weird. I don't know that we've ever recorded an episode this late. So we've had the last few episodes. We've had an early one and a late one. I guess it wasn't early. We used to record very early. But here I am in my kitchen. I am not filming this one, although you should know that I am wearing a costume. I don't know if you've ever been to Carnival in Rio or seen pictures, but I'm dressed in a Carnival costume. I have an elaborate headdress and a very small thong, and my breasts are exposed but covered in glitter. So there you go. Think of that for the rest of the episode. I started to exercise this evening at about 1 a.m. I just went for a walk around the neighborhood, and I was going to come back and lift some weights, and then I changed my mind, so did not do that. Decided it would benefit me more to do that tomorrow, and rather than at 1:30 in the morning. So a couple things to talk about today. Let's see. I got a text this week from the great intern Alex, the former drug dealer. My former drug dealer, no longer necessary now that weed is legal here in California. Although I bet he could still get me some stuff if he was around. But anyway, he texted me because there was a whole thing this week, and I didn't totally understand it. I watched the clip he sent me, or some of it. I didn't totally understand it. Apparently, Jim Brewer was doing an impression of a the comedy that he was doing. And first of all, I should say, all due respect to Jim Brewer. That guy, has had I'm being completely serious. He's had a successful career, so good for him. I think he and I are almost exactly the same age, and he got on SNL, I think sometime in the mid-'90s while I was still teaching junior high school. So he's done well for himself. But I did watch some of that clip, and apparently the point of the stand-up, I guess, I'm saying stand-up, I guess, because it didn't totally make sense to me, that he was doing, the bit that he was doing was that people who are getting vaccinated are all behaving like cockatoos. That seemed to me, from what I saw, and I could be wrong. I've been wrong about things before. I've talked about this before, how my junior high school band leader used to always say, "I've been wrong once. I made a left turn, came here. I should have gone right." Like, in other words, his only mistake he had ever made was coming to the school he worked at. Anyway, I've been wrong before, so maybe I'm wrong about this. But it seemed the point of the bit was people are becoming cockatoos. And whenever I see, and I bet you could Google it and find it, or Bing or whatever your service of choices. I don't know if you still use Ask Jeeves or Alta Vista. Call 411. There's a variety of ways to get information, but you can watch him do the bit, and he is doing an impression of a cockatoo, but the cockatoo is saying the things that people who are getting vaccinated are saying. Like, the cockatoo is saying, follow the science, Dr. Fauci. That's how I remember it. I only watched it once. I actually thought about looking it up before this started. I would use Google of all the things I mentioned, but I just didn't feel like watching it again. But I guess the way I always approach stuff like that is, first of all, it didn't make me laugh at all, which is one way to judge comedy. Like, does it make me laugh or does it not make me laugh? And this did not. And that's fine. I mean, there are people that it makes laugh. But I also approach these things not from the point of a consumer, but from the point of, or not the point of view is what I mean, not the point. You understand what I'm saying? From the point of view of somebody that I have been in the position where people have had to pitch me their ideas, and I have had to say, yes, I think that can work, or no, I don't think that can work. And so I was thinking about this idea that cockatoos and people who follow vaccine science are kind of the same now. And I think if I was in a writer's room and somebody pitched me that idea, I would immediately say that makes absolutely no sense. My first issue being, you need to have, for a premise to work, the person listening to the joke has to have some familiarity with all parts of the joke. Because you're comparing cockatoos to people. And I don't know fucking jack shit about cockatoos. I just don't. I know they're birds. I know they have feathers. But beyond that, I don't know anything. Literally, I know nothing about cockatoos beyond that. Do you? Do you know more than that about cockatoos? Do you know their behavior? Do you know their eating habits? Do you know their mating rituals? Do you know their social security number? I don't know anything about cockatoos. So if you go, here's what's funny about cockatoos, I'm going to be understanding that for the first time. And then to say the way that cockatoos behave is similar to the way that humans who follow vaccine science behave. I first have to also agree, what number am I on? 3? I have to agree that humans who follow vaccine science are behaving the way that you're saying they're behaving. So now you have two, and that would mean saying they're walking around going, follow the science, Dr. Fauci, like idiots, like they're stupid. And I guess there are people who are saying that anybody who follows the science is stupid. But I think for the most part, the issue that people are having isn't that the science is stupid. It's the issue of you can't tell me what to do with my body. So that's a different issue from being stupid. So now you're taking one false premise that people who follow vaccine science are stupid, combining it with another premise that isn't necessarily false, but that I'm not familiar with, that cockatoos behave in a certain way. Anyway, good for Jim Brewer that he was able to find an audience for that in which some of the people watching him seemed to be enjoying what he was doing. Today was a big day. I was very excited when I woke up this morning. I actually talked to Aaron, our sound engineer, among a million other things he does. But talked to him about maybe I would record various segments today, because today I was going to do stand-up. for the first time in 642 days. And I was like, oh, I'll wake up and I'll record something about how excited I am, and then I'll go to the place and I'll interview people, and then I'll do the show, and then I'll talk to people afterwards. Then I'll come home and reflect on the whole experience, and Aaron will sort of sew the whole thing together and make it into like a little, package, like an NPR package kind of deal. And that just didn't happen. Like, I woke up this morning and I was like, oh, I'm gonna write today. I'm gonna spend today, because I've had some thoughts about what I wanted to talk about on stage, but I haven't actually done any work on it. So I was like, I'm gonna write today, and then I'll record something and whatever. And I also had another thing that I really, really needed to work on. So I had an hour staked out for stand-up, and then 2 hours for this other thing that I'm working on. And then I was going to I just had so much planned out. And then as soon as I woke up, I got a text from a friend of mine, from one of my favorite people, who said, I am in town. Do you want to meet for breakfast in half an hour? And, first of all, when I say one of my favorite people, I mean it. Like, I feel very fortunate that there are people that when I think of them, I think this is one of my favorite people, and I know who they are, and I know I'll always be happy to see them, and I know they'll always be happy to see me. And that's a good feeling. So when this text came in, I feel guilty about this in retrospect, but there was a moment where I was like, but I have all this stuff I have to do. But I had not seen this person in months, and they were in town overnight, basically. And I was like, what am I, out of my mind? Like, I think that's one thing that, maybe I'm wrong, but I think had we not spent the last 2 years in this weird COVID thing, not 2 years, I know, but almost 2 years in this weird COVID thing, before that I would have been like, but my work is so important. Dr. Fauci. I would have said, my work is so important to me that I need to do this. I've staked this out. I can't see you today. I'll see you the next time I see you when I'm back east, because this person lives in New York. And I had that thought for a second. I was like, am I out of my mind? Of course I'm going to go have breakfast. So I did that, but that, threw the whole day out of whack, because it was over in Eagle Rock, which I still think of as Echo Park, which it is not. Those are two different places. So anyway, I drove over there, had breakfast, saw these people, hung out for a while, whatever, and did not record anything, did not spend as much time writing as I wanted to. The day basically was great, but didn't go the way I planned. So that's my excuse for why I was unprepared tonight at the stand-up show. So I show up to the show. This is at 6 o'clock on a Sunday night. So you already know that it's not necessarily prime time, right? I get to the place, and I guess, how can I describe this place? It's a storefront in a strip mall that has been converted into a black box theater, a small black box theater. And then there's another, like, way smaller black box theater upstairs from the small black box theater. The main black box theater probably holds, 75 people, maybe 100 if it was packed. So anyway, I show up, I drive right past the place. I've been there many times before, and I drive right past it because it is basically dark. There's no lights on it, and the gate is more than 2/3 of the way, but slightly less than 3/4 of the way closed on this storefront, just wide enough to allow access to the front door of the place. So there is a plate glass, it's a storefront. It's the kind of place that would have merchandise in the window if it was still a store, but it's not a store. So there's just posters for 1 million improv shows taped to the window, so you can't see inside. So I can't tell if there's anybody in there. I get up to the door, and the door is locked. So part of me was like, thank God I didn't invite anybody to this show, because it's 10 minutes to showtime. The place is dark, and the door is locked, which I guess is true all the time. Apparently the front door just stays locked all the time because it's in a strip mall in Hollywood, which means anybody could walk in off the street at any time. So there's a doorbell there. I ring the doorbell, or I think I did. I mean, I pressed the button. Who knows if it rang, or I would assume that maybe a light flashes. Nothing happens. I can see through a crack in the posters that there are people standing about 20 feet away. Nobody makes a move towards the door. And I'm like, this is going to be a great show. This is going to be an all-time classic show. I'm glad I spent over 20 minutes trying to prepare material for this show, having not performed in 642 days. Finally, somebody comes to the door, and he opens it like 6 inches so that I can't get in. He's blocking the door to keep me from coming in. And he goes, "Are you here for Rodrigo?" Or I don't remember what the name was, but some name. He's like, "Are you here for blank?" The name was not blank. It was a real name. It was not Rodrigo. I don't remember what it actually was. But I was like, I didn't know what to say. Like, what does that mean? Am I there to pick him up? What are you asking me? Am I here to see him? What is the question? So I just said, no, I am not, and I am not here for anyone. And then somebody else came up behind me who said, I am here for Rodrigo, or whatever the name was. And this person then moved out of the way to let this other guy in, not me, because I was not there for whoever he was talking about. But because he moved out of the way, I was able to walk in. So I went into the theater. I knew I was in the right place. I knew I was not in the wrong place, whether or not I was there to pick up Rodrigo, or whatever his name was. I guess ultimately Rodrigo was the guy who was organizing the show, but he was not the guy that I had been in touch with. So I walked in. I go into the theater. Again, this is a small black box theater. There's a bunch of people in there. There's like 20 or 25 people, and there's somebody standing up. The show has not started yet, but there's somebody standing up front who's going, so you guys are all going to have to keep your masks on while you're in the audience. And I realized this guy is organizing the show. This is Rodrigo who's organizing the show. And he goes, he sees me, and he goes, yeah, you're looking for Alberto? That's upstairs. That's not in here, okay? Like, really? And I know Amber always says I have a chip on my shoulder, but he really purposely said it dismissively. 100% purposely was dismissive. And this is gonna sound weird, but I could tell that he knew who I was, and he was trying to play a status card on me. Even though he had a mask on and I didn't know who he was, and I had a mask on, but he knew who I was, he was trying to make himself seem like king shit in front of the people that were in the theater. And I don't know if it worked, because I wasn't there before that, and I wasn't there after that. But anyway, he was like, you're looking for Alberto. Alberto's upstairs. Now, again, it was not Alberto. I know the real name of the person I was looking for. I'm not going to say it on this show, because I don't want to get him in trouble for what happened next. No, nothing happened. But, of course, now I realized I was in the tiny theater upstairs, which was fine. I'm doing stand-up for the first time in 642 days. I can't do the pro-vaccine, pro-science people are like cockatoos bit because somebody else has been doing that bit. But I have some stuff prepared. So I go upstairs, and it's great. It's super fun. I felt great. I felt absurd. I felt ridiculous. Like I hadn't done it in so long that you sort of forget how insane it is to get on stage and talk about things that are so inconsequential. At one point I was looking at the list of things I had written down, and I kind of said, I don't remember what I'm going to talk about, and then I was just silent for a moment, and then I went, how come? And everybody just started laughing. And I realized it was because, as I said to them, and I felt like I was sounding like one of the former, they laughed. I felt like I was sounding like one of the former hosts of this podcast. But I said, you have to stay emotionally connected to the material, which is really true. And that's what I was doing. But it felt so manufactured in the moment. And that's, I think, what was funny about it was that it was just like, oh, I'm about to start talking about something and I need to be angry about it, as opposed to like already having that anger be there. But anyway, it was fun. It was all people who were performing on the show. I was doing stand-up. Somebody else was doing stand-up. Everybody else was doing improv. It was very funny to me to watch all these sort of brand new improvisers. I got to say, long-form improv is a weird art form. It's very, very strange. People have made fun of it and talked about it as a cult, like UCB is a cult, but there is definitely an aspect of that to it. People see it and they go, oh my God, I want to do this now and forever and really well and do it for the rest of my life. And they get so excited about it. And so these people that were performing tonight they were just all, well, I actually don't know. Maybe they weren't. Some of them were not. Many of them were newish to the art form. And so they were just so excited and like vibrating out of their clothes to be on stage doing long form improv, which is, it just always makes me uncomfortable to watch people be that excited about being not good at something. But good for them. Good for them. Yeah. So anyway, I was happy to be there. I was happy to perform. I stood in the back and watched the whole show, which was a treat. And I guess I would like to continue performing. I guess I'd like to get back to doing it on a regular basis. I don't know if that will happen. I'm going to try to make it happen. I immediately emailed the guy after the show and was like, not Rodrigo, who was so dismissive, but Alberto, who was the person in charge of the upstairs show, who I had also, I ran over to him in the middle of the show because one of the teams that was performing, one of the guys, there were so many things about it that were so hilarious. Like at one point, I could see him in the audience while I was watching another team perform, and him and another girl on his team were kind of all over each other, just like, not all over each other, but they had their arms around each other. They're an item, right? So halfway through the show, he pimps her into a celebrity impression. By pimping, I mean he forced her to do a celebrity impression that she did a decent job with. So that was clearly something he had locked and loaded before the show. It was not organic to the scene. It was just like, I want to see her do this funny impression. Which that always makes me laugh when I'm like, first of all, there was no reason for that. Second of all, it's funny that you just couldn't wait to get out there on stage and go, honey, do the thing you always do. Do the impression you always do. So he did that. And then he did it again in another scene. Now, on the one hand, you could say this is long form, so this was a callback. But it clearly was not. It was just another moment to go, it was good again, do it again. And then she later pimped him into doing another celebrity impression, which, again, he was not bad at, but it was also like, guys, this is not your SNL audition. Which I don't know if you know about SNL, but Jim Breuer got on there in the mid-'90s when I was still teaching junior high school. Anyway, that was the show that I did, and this is it. I mean, how much time have we been talking for? Not a ton. Not nothing though. So I'm going to say goodbye. Of course, I can't help but point out that this comes out. What's today? I guess this will come out on Wednesday, which is the 15th of December. And of course, this is the first episode we've had since the death of Bob Dole. So I want to... No, I'm kidding. Bob Dole did an interview last summer. He's 98 years old. Last summer he did an interview where he talked about how much of a Trumper he was. So I refuse to give Bob Dole respect. But December 15th is my mother's birthday. So I just want to say happy birthday, Mom. And I will call you and tell you happy birthday because I know that you do not listen to this show. So I'm gonna call and do that. Folks, Amber will return next week, maybe, but sometime soon. This has been The Long Shot. We will see you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye.
And I am aware that you took all my shillings, and I am aware that my teeth need some fillings, and I am aware that you're ready and willing to throw all my goodness away. You nodded, you